Oh, hey guy, welcome back to another episode of YOML. This is actually a makeup session because I, for whatever reason, completely dropped the ball last time. But this is actually part two of the conclusions of the Wim Hof method. But I think we are on book 199. It's one more 200.
Yeah, and I just finished I'm going on 335 now. So we're in the final 30 reflection stretch, on the other side of this. So we're getting there, man. But yeah, so this is part two of the Wim Hof method. For anybody that doesn't remember, Wim Hof is this guy known as the Iceman. He does like a lot of cold water immersion techniques and things like that. He's really big into cold water immersion and how it helps your body, and also like breathing exercises to help control your heart rate, to help regulate body temperatures, and a lot of other things to kind of help him to endure through the cold, but also to heal a little bit better.
He can endure the heat.
Yeah, it's regulating his heart. Like he does the breathing stuff is to
Yeah,
regulate your heart.
he's known as the Iceman, but he actually can run in like sweltering heat for the longest time. He was trying to do some kind of a long distance running in the heat in a way.
Yeah.
He keep going, and I don't know.
He can control his heart rate. Like he can control it fast and slow. Like when he's cold, he speeds it up, and when he's warm, he slows it down. So that way your body stays cooler when you're in the heat. So part one, if you don't remember, that was talking about what I found in the cold. It was just, we were just having a discussion about the Wim Hof method in general and what it is and all that good stuff. Part one was called Now We Go Into the Cold, and it was about Wim Hof. Part two is what I found in the cold. So if you remember from the first
So
session,
this is actually the reflection.
yes, kind of. The first one was more about Wim Hof in general, of just discovering it. And
I mean, the first one there wasn't any reflection. This now we're going through the cold.
it's true. There wasn't a ton of reflection on that first one. So this one is more the reflection of what I found in the cold. So after I did the 30-day challenge, right? And that was doing the daily breathing and the cold shower every single day. So the way that this whole process worked was I started off with 1 minute cold shower, and then each week it added like 15 seconds. So by the end of it, I got up to like 2 minutes or 2:30 of a cold shower every day. And then the breathing exercises, I usually did like 4 cycles of it, where you would breathe for like 30 breaths, and then you would hold your breath for as long as you could, and then breathe again for another 30 breaths and hold your breath, and then breathe again for another 30 breaths. So you do that like probably 3 or 4 cycles every day. So that was the process that I went through. And then I would also, as soon as I was done with my breathing stuff, I would do like a push-up challenge, because your body gets filled with so much, your blood's pumping everywhere after the breathing challenge. It makes it a lot easier to do a lot of push-ups. So that was like a bonus little challenge that I did here. So after every time I would get done with my breathing thing, I would just go do as many push-ups as I could in one sitting. So what ended up happening, this is actually a remarkable challenge, and I still do it to today. What I found in the cold was something that helped me to align overall to my values. I didn't know that I was going to enjoy this. For me personally, I didn't go into this with any goal, and I honestly had no idea what to expect at all from this. I was just like, all right, I read the book. I kind of liked the guy. I felt like I had some similarities to him and his journey. And I was like, let's give this thing a go. So I did. What I ended up finding in the cold at the highest level is another side to balance that I didn't know that I was missing. So if we go back to this whole journey up until this point in time, Amelia, what happened in my life with Amelia happened at the beginning of all this. And I was just stuck in the here and now and it was terrifying. It was awful, right? Like it was just nothing but I didn't have an imagination anymore. I didn't have any creativity or curiosity or thinking about any thoughts about the future, because trauma, as we talked about, like with the body keeps a score, trauma had wiped that out of my memory, and I was just in the moment with all the pain of losing my daughter. So through this journey, I found a way to bring myself back and regain my curiosity and imagination by focusing on living as many of my values as I can and bringing that to life, and then reimagining me doing that with Amelia. So my goal became every single day to live a balanced life was to do as many actions as I could with my daughter by performing my values and bringing my values to life. That was what I was under the impression of. It was living a balanced existence. And it was it was working. It brought me back to a point in time where I regained my imagination, felt like I was a healthy, functioning human being again. And I was able to spend time with my daughter and understand what happened to us, and was curious again, asking a lot of questions, et cetera, et cetera. But the one thing that I've forgotten, I ran so far away down that road and kind of the molecule more road, that I had forgotten what it was like way back at the other end of the extreme when this whole journey started, being in the here and now. When I started this challenge, it brought me back there in a hard way, in a good way. Like the moment that I walked into that first cold shower and tried this challenge, I mean, this was my plan. As everybody always says, like the old Mike Tyson quote, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, kind of thing. So when I walked into that first cold shower, before I did it, I was like, here's my plan. I was like, I'm going to go meditate with Amelia. I was like, I'm going to go to my parents' lake house. We're going to be out on a boat. We're going to be, I'm going to be towing her in the back. She's on the tubes, and I'm just pulling her along in the pontoon boat, and, Luca's in the boat. And that, literally, this is what I was thinking before I walked into the shower the first day. I was like, I'm just going to go into my mind and go meditate and imagine that is where we're at, and I couldn't, because the cold was so fucking cold. Like, and it, as soon as that hits you, your body goes into survival mode, right? And you're like, you're hyperventilating, you're panicking, your body's clenching, tensing up. Like, you can't have your mind feel safe and secure to be able to go to that spot. Even no matter how hard I tried, I could never do it. I tried to do it for the first few days, but every single time I would do it, I couldn't get past the sensation of the cold just hitting me, taking me back into, it's cold, Chris. It's cold. Like, it's not, I can't just imagine my way out of it, kind of thing. So it kept bringing me back into this spot where I was like, well, shit, I guess I just got to embrace the cold. Then it became me just not thinking about anything. I would walk in there and I would say, this is going to suck for a little bit, and focus on my breath or whatever, just something to try to rip my heart up or slow it down or something along those lines. But I couldn't go anywhere in my mind. I had to just, be in that moment of the cold shower. So that was my first like aha that I found in the cold was, I can't run away. Like, I have to be in the moment, and it brought me back to have to lock in on this moment, right? So then I go and I do my breathing every day. And I'll tell you what, like the first few times, I told you about this. You remember when I was doing this, I was like, I hate this. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. I could feel this throbbing in my neck, like
right.
just throbbing, as I thought I was going to have a heart attack, because like right above my heart, and I could just feel it pulse it really hard into my head. I was getting like, my ears were ringing really bad while I was doing it. Like, and I felt like I was going to pass out a few times. And I was like, this is not fun. I was like, if this is supposed to be enjoyable, this sucks. And I remember telling you like about this the first like week or two that I was doing this. I was like, I don't know. I was like, the cold showers, I kind of digging them, but like the breathing, I hate it. Like, I was like, this is awful. And I don't know when it was exactly, but somewhere like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks in, I started to really actually like the breathing. And what I liked about it the most was it was relaxing. I really enjoyed it when I would go through the breath hold, and I would feel like this warmth in my head and my body. It started to feel almost like a cold shower. I could feel like, not tingling, but like I could feel like icy, because I was holding my breath for so long, and then I was pumping blood everywhere. And then I could start to feel like this weird sensation, like this icy sensation that started to wash over me. And then I really enjoyed just almost meditating. When I would hold my breath, it was just you and your thoughts. I mean, because you can't do anything. You can't breathe. You can't move. You can't do anything. I was just sitting there just thinking, and then eventually I would not think. And like, the first couple cycles, I would be fighting thoughts until I couldn't hold my breath any longer. And then like the third, fourth time, it almost happened every single time. By the time I got to the third, fourth cycle, like I just had no thoughts. You're done with you're on your breath hold, and you're just, I don't know where I was. I was just there. And then I would decide I was done, and then I'd get up and I'd do some push-ups, and there you go. So not only now with the cold, I was really connected to the moment because I couldn't go anywhere and I couldn't run. And then with the breathing, I found like really like a lot, kind of a relaxation moment where I got to spend like 15, 20 minutes, just kind of lying there and just kind of being with my own thoughts, and then eventually no thoughts. And it was very meditative. And then I got up and I got to do some push-ups and get my blood going again, heart pumping a little bit harder. I loved it. I felt connected to the moment. I felt like I found another side of the balance equation that I had been neglecting for a really long time, which was to be able to connect in the moment, to be present in the moment versus chasing that molecule of more with my values and spending time with Amelia and my imagination. Now I was finding a way to connect into the moment today. And it really wasn't with Amelia. It was more with myself, honestly. It was with just me in the moment, because when I'm doing stuff with my values, it's always with Amelia in my mind, and for some reason, this other stuff is a way for me to find a connection with myself a little bit in the moment. I mean, I think after I thought about it and did this month and challenge, and I was like, I kind of like this a lot. I mean, I still do. This was 8 months ago now or whatever it was. And I still regularly do it. I don't do it every day. The breathing, I probably do like 3 times a week. And whenever I can find maybe like 20 minutes or something like that in the middle of the day, just to kind of take like a midday break. The cold showers, I technically do that every day. Technically, I haven't been this whole winter because I've been forcing myself to run outside in the actual cold. So by the time I come back in, I'm kind of like frozen. So I call that my cold shower. Only on days when I run on the treadmill indoors, then I take like a cold shower afterwards, just during this winter. But that's kind of been my mental focus of trying to, to embrace the cold, because it does suck. Running the cold sucks. Like, I mean, actually, I'm starting to really like it now a lot more than I thought I was going to, but it's not much different than the cold shower. It's hard to breathe. It's harder to breathe. It's harder to to get your body moving and your blood pumping. And I mean, it's not the same sensation where you're hyperventilating and you're like, oh my God, like, I mean, it's intense. It does take your breath away when it's a really cold 20-degree day out or 15-degree day out or something like that outside. And you got to catch up to it. So I call that a win for me, just immersing myself for like 30 minutes outdoors running. But yeah, so long story short, I actually really enjoyed this challenge. I learned a lot, and I found a different side of the balance equation that I've come to embrace a lot more, just kind of maybe being a little bit more connected in the here and now. And yeah, so that's it. I'd love to get your thoughts.
These results that you got, what would be the lesson that we should be taking out of this?
The results were meaningless. I didn't care about the results.
Like the lesson that we should be taking out of your aha. If you had to say, distill it to one thing to take away from this lesson, what would we say that be? I mean,
I found another side of the balance equation that I was avoiding, of the here and now side of the balance equation, and balancing that with the molecule of more. Like, I thought balancing the molecule of more was balance. I found a deeper understanding of balance for me, of another side of the balance equation.
So in what you're saying is that needs to be a balance between the molecule of more and the molecule of here now.
Yes.
Okay, right. So before the Wim Hof challenge, you were more leaning towards the mostly.
I was only primarily on the molecule of more balance train. That was my
So
focus.
if I'm hearing you right, the balance equations applies to almost everything.
Yeah.
Whether like your mental state has to be a balance between the molecule of more and the molecule of here now, and the balance of doing too much of one
either
thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you went to a meditative retreat in the Himalayas or something like that for 6 weeks and all you did was meditate, I think that would be forsaking, action and activity in the molecule of more. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was going back to the beginning of the reflection. I ran really far away from the here and now because the here and now terrified me, when my here and now was just life without meaning.
It's painful.
It was painful. But coming back to it, it's funny, you have to kind of go through pain to come back to the here and now. But like, this was like the cold and the breathing, like the pain became, I don't know about fun. I don't know. There was something pleasant about it. It's like, I mean,
sometimes like ripping off a Band-Aid, I mean, it's painful, but it feels good for whatever reason.
It gives you a sensation for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think you can relate to that, just because sometimes having to run or to do weight for the first time, and then your body is sore, right? For you to kind of like massage it, it's painful. It hurts.
Right.
But it's a sense of relief in that sense. So I think in that context, we can understand, for whatever reason, that dynamics works. Because even though it's painful, it kind of reminds you of the recovery. You think about in the muscle sense, you have this muscle soreness, and then you are massaging it. Yeah, it's painful, but the instant when you massage it, it feels painful. But the release of the inflammations of the blood or whatever, it senses recovery. And that recovery sense, it feels good. I think some of that can be applied to what you're feeling here.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's the, when you experience pain, and it's like to eat the frog. When you do something,
eat the frog, and then
it's somebody, always up. Yeah.
It's your, you're spitting it out.
Right. Yeah.
It's still painful. It's still bitter, but actually spitting it out. So it's the recovery sensation that makes it. Yeah. Hey, it's good.
Yeah, it's all up from there, right?
Right.
It's I know we've shit on the whole eat the frog, versus eat the cake kind of thing. And, embracing the molecule more is eat the cake, right? Like, I do think that it's more important to stay more, well, I don't know. It's important to have a balance of both. But like, I personally still am going to lean more toward more activities that relate to my molecule of more, because I like curiosity, questioning, imagination, and spending time with my daughter more than I like, pain in the present, I guess. But like, I know that
that's why I would say, when you are not focusing on your core values, a lot of things you do are not of your own volition.
Right.
So you don't like it.
Yeah.
And when you don't like it, you escape to the future, to a fictitious future that you make up for yourself. Hey, I want to become this, free from the pain. And so to me, the molecule of more is an escape from the painful reality.
Yeah.
But once you create, because the thing is the painful reality, right? Because
Yep.
you go into this, if you don't take care of the molecule of more, right? The future, when it comes, it's going to make that whatever it is become urgent if you don't take care of it. And
Yeah.
so it's a double-edged sword because a lot of people escape the reality and they focus on something in the future. And a lot of times, what I see is that those future do not correlate with what you're trying to solve right now. So you have to have a little bit of the here and now to know whatever you're trying to fix or trying to rectify,
Mhm.
it is an impact on the here and now. And a lot of people completely disconnect those two. And when you do that, right, the whatever becomes urgent becomes critical
Right.
because you don't take care of it. So, in the past when we're talking about the molecule of more, the book, and I guess one of the warning I give out was you have to want to do the molecule more, but once you have the molecule more, you focus your molecule more on something that is core values to you.
Right.
That
Your purpose.
becomes
It's got
the
to be
it
purpose driven.
becomes yeah. So it becomes the what is not urgent but important. When
Right.
you focus on that, then the urgency of these things won't become, very urgent and important. Because like when we talk about your health, so if you think about focusing your market more on the core values, eventually your reality will become something that you want. Because you think about it, if you put a beaver in the desert, right, he's going to have his mind elsewhere to escape from the painful reality of being dried up and,
Right.
and heat stroke and all that. But if he doesn't seek out the river and the water source that he needs to exist in, then he won't. But eventually, if he continue to use a molecule more on his core values, eventually he'll find the water source, the molecule here now. You have to think about it. But you have to use a molecule more to make yourself become this, like we talk about method acting, you have to put yourself into the positions of something that you want. And then once you have that, then you can cut back on the molecule more. In the beginning, if you don't have the reality that you want, you spend more time, maybe 80-20, on your molecule more. But once you find and establish your reality that you want, you need to live in the reality because we said before is the only thing you have is the present.
Yeah.
The future is uncertain. We don't know
Right.
if we're going to live life tonight, today, tomorrow, the next day. And the past is something that it's not.
It's already done. I mean,
It's done. It's gone.
yeah, it's
And
nothing you
so
can
I
do about
I
that.
think I think go back to the same, I guess the same principle of the company core value, which is balance. You have to kind of
Mhm.
use that to act to center yourself and to be able to quote unquote balance on the
Continuum of,
not continuum, but like the disc of life. You're talking
yeah.
about the disc of life. This life is not going to stand still, and it's going to
Right.
wobble, and you're going to have to balance on it.
Hmm.
And so having the ability to kind of shift your center of gravity to balance these discs to make sure that you still on it and not get spun off of the disc. And so having that, I think, is important. It reminds me of something you said way earlier in our journey is when you said, when you go up the mountain, right? And you meditate and you found the aha, then you need to come back down to the
Test it
valleys
out.
and,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and so you have to do the thing. You can't
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stay in the mountain like a monk. I mean, even before we understood what company was about, you had that idea when you were building the website. You said, hey, I want somebody stay, go on the
Yeah.
mountain,
Right.
do some stuff, and then go down to the valley and do some work,
Right.
meaningful. So, I think it all comes full circle
Yeah.
in terms of, we didn't completely have clarity on what company was, but we had a faint idea of what it is we want. And I think
Well, I think you can still say that now. And I think you can probably say that for forever until we're done.
but my point
Yeah.
is that
It always evolves.
the omens,
Hmm.
the signs is confirming what we believe to be true for us.
Yeah.
right? And that's, it gives you a higher level of confidence in the thing that you're doing, just like you and I were doing the company core values class. And then if you're doing it for your own team, and we know that this is something that actually works.
Yeah. Oh, for
And
sure. I mean, 1,000%. Not only does it work, they're getting stronger and growing every day on their own. I mean, like, it's funny you mentioned this, well, first off, this particular monthly challenge, and then the follow-up challenge was the Swedish death cleaning. So like connecting to the here and now and both of those challenge, and focusing on what's in front of me and focusing on the death cleaning kind of thing of, does this need to be a part of my life? Have I spent the time that I want to spend with it? What's its purpose? And then letting go of it, like the act of letting go, and then the act of, kind of being really connected into this. This was a big, and the Wherever You Go, There You Are book just a few weeks ago, I talked about, like, this portion of the journey for me was a big pivot point in terms of, I'll say this, like, I accumulated a lot of unexpected wins from the start of this journey until about this point, where a lot of things were just happening just by sheer accumulation of stuff that was building up. And it wasn't ever the goal, but it was happening. And about this point in time, it wasn't that I hit a plateau. It's just that I stopped caring even about the outcomes that were happening. A part of me kept saying, I don't really care about it. And I didn't. But at the same time, it also feels nice sometimes to achieve stuff. And you're like, oh, well, that's pretty cool.
I think to go back to what we said before, there got to be a balance, because you can't be competitive at everything. You don't want to. You don't want to never quit on everything. You want to quit smoking. You want to quit doing bad things. But when something is important, you want to endure. This is why I don't like the word never quit, because never quit doesn't give you any kind of perspective, no context.
Agreed.
But enduring means I am doing this because this is something that's important to me.
Right.
So I think having that sense of what's important to you, if you keep achievements, but achievements for the thing that's important to you, I think this is good. Achievement for something for the sake of achievement.
Worthless. Yeah, it's just worthless. I mean, it's less than worthless. And actually, I even wrote it into this reflection. You can see right here at the end of it, this experiment, none of it was about getting some results. However, I can't disregard the results that I did get from it. Was averaging a 2-minute and 15-second cold shower every day. I held my breath for almost 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I did 72 continuous push-ups. This is at the time of this, right? I think my longest breath hold since then is like 310.
Wow.
I think I did like 70.
That's incredible.
My average now is usually around like the 220 to 230, kind of thing.
Still a lot. I mean, I can only do 40 seconds, and that's with practice. And when I first started out doing the breath hold, 30 seconds.
I mean, when you just keep doing, well, I guess I'm sharing this to say, like, it's still going up from there, but I don't really care anymore. Like, honestly, I used to care, like, about, like, how long was I was like, I would look at my stats, like on the Wim Hof app when I would do my breathing every day and stuff like that.
Well, and that's the thing, is that it's all the perspective, right? Perspective is what you're looking for. I mean, I can give you an example. Do you care how far you walked with your wife down some kind of park? It's not about the how far you walked or how short you walked. It's about how much time you spend, right? So to me, that's a perfect example of, there are certain goals means nothing.
I stopped timing my runs. I don't even care anymore. Some days I run faster, some days I run slower. Yesterday, I was just telling you about, it was just the most beautiful day ever yesterday. And I went on usually on Sundays, I give myself a rest day, because I usually play tennis on Saturdays. And then I usually give myself, like, Saturday and Sunday, I try to not push myself super hard with workouts, because I save it for Monday through Friday. But for some reason yesterday, I knew that it was just a beautiful day. And, Amelia and I heard Amelia calling, like, let's go take a run and go listen to a book. And I was like, let's just go do this. And I was just cruising along. Like, I felt great. Like, I was like, this is, I don't know how fast I was going, but I know I was going pretty fast, and I wasn't even really trying, or fast for me, I guess, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was just enjoying the run, spending time with my daughter, having a good time. Today, it's like, I shit you not, today, like, it's cold out today, not cold. I mean, it was like probably in the 30s when I went on a run this morning. And
well, that's cool for me.
Yeah, right. It was far chillier today than it was yesterday. And I ran pretty far yesterday. And I woke up this morning, started running. On the weekends also, I'm not pretty strict with my diet or anything. So I ate some ice cream, I think, last night, and some cookies after dinner. Anyway, so my stomach was a little bit full, still, because I ate some food that I normally shouldn't probably eat, like, and I don't usually eat on the weekdays when I do like normal workouts. And I ran a pretty long distance yesterday, and I started my run this morning, I felt like I had lead legs. I was like, what the fuck? I'm not joking. Like the first half mile, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I was like, I feel like I can't move. And then I literally looked up and I just started laughing. I was like, no, touche, you know, this is going to be a slow one. And I know it, like, it was a really slow run this morning and I was not doing my best and I never found my stride, but I knew like, it's okay. Like, I don't care. I'm just spending time with my daughter. Like, just get through the run, you know, have fun and enjoy the time at being outside. And it'll maybe be better tomorrow. Maybe it'll be worse, but like, I don't care. It's not like I wake up every morning trying to impress somebody with some time or whatever. It's not like when I do these Wim Hof things that I'm going to talk to my Wim Hof club people and they're monitoring, oh, well,
Yeah, my number is better.
right. And I'm like, I just like, it just, all these things have become, and it's through this practice and these processes and this whole entire journey, like all these things have become irrelevant to
Right.
the activity itself, like and doing what you want.
Yeah, we understand more about ourselves and
Right.
we focus on the things that is important to us and that's beneficial for us versus things that people say
Right.
it's beneficial for you, because we say, hey, you know, my number is better, I run faster, I held my breath longer. So these things
That's
are
great.
vending metrics that, you know, for whatever reason, we've been conditioned to think it is important.
Yeah.
And then once you understand that, it's only when you can know yourself first, only until then you can use that as point of reference to measure yourself
Right.
and say, yes, you know, this thing, I make this achievement and this achievement is meaningful, or this achievement isn't meaningful. Because
Right.
like I say, I don't run for train and I don't feel at all any guilt
Right.
in you know,
Who
because
cares? Like,
exactly, you relearned the habits that you create. So it's one of those things where I think, you know, having a sense of who you are is the fundamental thing you can do before you can say, hey, these things are important. Because if you don't, then there's nothing to compare against. So you're going to take everything that is going to be thrown at you from society, from the people that is
yeah.
surrounding you.
Yeah,
People say, hey, eat the frog is the way to go. And because you have nothing to butter against, you can say, yeah, okay, let's eat the frog.
let's do it.
You ate one frog, I ate two frogs,
Right.
better than you. But you
Well,
know,
that becomes a drug. It becomes the molecule more. It becomes an addiction versus, you know, your addictions are controlling.
is, you know,
Yeah.
people. I mean, you look at society today. You know, back in the 60s, even 1540s, you know, most people, they probably work like one person work and can pay for the whole family. Right nowadays, everybody is working.
Right.
Both spouse works to make ends meet, and not only that, you know, they are stressed out because they are working overtime. Sometimes they go
Right.
work, right, and then go home and work again. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but aren't you going to do late night work after you put your kids to sleep and stuff like that? I mean, you don't, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
talking about
For sure.
the average
Yeah.
Americans. This is what they do.
Right.
This is what I hear and
You're right.
whatnot.
I mean, I could. I just I don't care. I mean, like, I'm
Because
not going to do it.
you knew you knew where your important things
Right.
are. Always people don't. I mean, like like for example, I heard from you actually, your boss, right? She works at night and she sends you, you know, your former
Yeah.
boss when she sends you stuff to do and blah 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 and all this and that, and then I mean that's what people do is they work all the time, and not only that one person work, but two-person work.
Yeah.
And so you're going from like quote unquote, you know, normal, like you go to full time, like normal 40 hours a week, right? Minimum
Right.
40 hours a week. And
You're
people
really
work
on
like
the whole time.
50.
You may
And
not be
so
working, but you're always on. But you're always just waiting for the
it's
next
just not
ping.
productive
Yeah.
work. It's just
Yeah.
not
You're right.
productive work. You spend your
Right.
precious resources on it. You know, if you have so many things that you hold on in your head, right? Those brain cells are not available for the other stuff that you're doing. So you basically making yourself inefficient. You may not be accomplishing anything, but you still hold on to that single piece of information. Say, hey, I have to remember to do this. I have to remember to do that. Right? Essentially, those things are frozen and it being used, so you can't use it. So any kind of enjoyment, for example, I mean, you go on vacation, but you still have to think about work. Right? Can you enjoy vacation? I mean,
No, it's
simple
awful.
question as that.
I remember, I think it was like 30, and I went on this vacation to Costa Rica with my wife for our anniversary because we got married during spring break because she's a teacher, so we would always go on a nice big trip for spring break every year. And that was when we got married initially too. So it was always our anniversary. I distinctly remember I had my team pinging me all day, every day, because that was how the model that I had set up, because I had to, because my boss made me do XYZ and nobody else could do it. So it was the most stressful vacation ever, because every day I had to wake up at a certain time because I was on a different time zone than them as well. And had
That's
to be
just
there
double work, right?
all, like,
Your job was to enjoy vacation and be there for your wife, to be
right.
having a good time. But then you have the other double work is, how to make sure that I
I
take
got to
care of all
find
these
time to
things.
away. Yeah,
And
exactly.
so
I got
to
like,
me, going on vacation is actually more stressful than
yeah,
you
it
even
is.
hadn't
Yeah.
gone on vacation.
Yeah.
And so
I mean,
that's my point, is once you have something that held in your head, right? You can't use your other brain cell to do anything else. You can't use it
yeah.
to do critical thinking. You can't use it to enjoy what the here now. Wherever you are, you can be on the most beautiful beaches and sandy and white sand and whatever
You're watching
amenities
in your
that
Slack.
remember as you watching the super slag, or what you watching your watch is ahead. It's a
Right.
time to go. I mean, it's like you go on to vacation. You went out with your friends to get a drink, and then you say, "Hey, I only can have like 30 minutes. I have to go jump back on to this meeting to kind of
Right.
do whatever." I mean, that's all you remember. I mean,
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's awful. So before I go, a question for you. This is something I don't know if you have an answer for this, or maybe something you want to ponder for a little bit longer, because I don't know the answer to this yet. I'm still trying to figure this out. Is it possible to be world class, like truly world class, like the best and the best of the best in a kind environment without caring about outcomes? Is it even possible? I ask this to say, like, the stuff that we're talking about, I think you almost have to be obsessive addictive in a bad way and to the extreme for you to ever be. I think of professional tennis players, right? Number 1 to number 300 in the world are all the best damn tennis player in the freaking world. And there's very little margin that separates, the best of the best of the best. The Novak Djokovic's from the dude you've never heard of that barely makes the cut each week and, gets on, or like a professional golfer or something like that, right? There's very little difference that separates Tiger Woods from some random dude that just got his tour card or whatever, right? What I'm getting at is, like, those guys that are at the top, is it possible to have this mindset and still be able to achieve that? Can you not care and do it for the love of what you're doing it for, and also at the same time get to that level?
Well, I think that's a must. You have to not care about the outcome.
Oh, I
To
agree.
become really good at what you do. You can be really good, but not the best, not world class, unless you don't care about. Because you think about it, if you love the art,
Yeah.
right? You play tennis for the sake of the art, then you can be better than anyone and stay on the top, stay world class for the longest time. But if you always
Yeah.
chasing something, you are always behind that person.
I agree. So I will say this. I definitely know that Novak Djokovic and I, or, Rafa Nadal, we're very similar aged in general. I would be willing to bet almost anything you ever wanted to bet that at some point in time in my life, I will beat them in tennis. And somebody would go, no, you can't. I don't care. Like, never. And I'll go, well, I'll probably still be playing tennis when I'm 90 years old. And I'll probably still be doing activity and things like that to stay faster. I'll be faster and stronger and probably better and have grown in my skill set, even if I'm 90 years old. And I have a weird feeling that people that get to that level, like a Novak or Rafa, they'll be like, I don't want to ever pick up a racket again, maybe, or something like that. Or even if they do, it'll be like, oh, I'll do it like once or twice a year with my kids as I go watch them play or something like that. You see it all the time in professional football or whatever. People retire and then they become massively overweight and their whole entire world just balloons out of orbit. How are you ever a professional athlete? So
I completely agree with that, and that's why I say it's a must.
Yeah.
You have to love the art to
I
become
agree.
world class.
Right.
Because the thing is, talent,
there's time
talent
limits.
count. Well, yes and no, because you're talking about there is a conditions or criteria with talent, or you have a talent for it that gives you a more accelerated pace to world class. But if you don't love the art, this is what you call the long tail.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah. No, I
Because
agree.
the long tail, eventually Novak would stop because he doesn't like it as much.
Maybe.
He likes the outcome, but not the art.
Right.
Because the thing is, if you say, can you beat Novak? But knowing if Novak is exactly like you and say, hey, he also loves the art and he also doesn't care about the outcome,
Then I would never.
and he has also the talent, then you
Right.
will never beat him because but if you saying he has a talent, but you have the love for the art, then yes, I will willing to bet you that you will beat him one of these days.
Yeah. I
But
wonder
if
if Stanford,
he loves the art, he doesn't care as well, then and have the talent on top of that, so you would never beat him because he will stop. You don't stop playing, he won't stop playing. So how can you surpass him?
I agree. All right. I think we should pause it just because I got to jump, but it's something to think about. Maybe my other caveat to the question is, can you do it in a condensed time frame where you would need to in order to compete with the way that the world works today? Like, meaning, could you become a
I would say they be the shortest time frame, but as far as the number of hours that you put in has to be more. Because if I love to play tennis or I love to code, no one can spend more time coding than me, regardless of
yeah,
when you say
long term?
condense,
Yeah.
it meaning the condensed hey number of weeks, number of years, where I do 5 times the amount of hours that the normal developer would spend on.
Hmm.
So yes, in 2 years I can be as good or better than the one who spent 5 years. But the time I spent overall, like total quantity time, will be more than him. That's a caveat.
Yeah.
Because
No,
when you love something, you don't mind spending the time doing the thing. You don't mind spending the time playing tennis. You don't mind playing the time doing the coding or whatever. You still spend more time than, and that's the only caveat that you have is mastery cannot be done without having the effort.
yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with that one. So, all right, well, let's put a pin on this, and we can revisit it because it'd be a fun conversation. So, the question we can leave with everybody after the Wim Hof exploration is, how do you find balance between the future and the here and now? So, like, what do you do to blend those two worlds together and make your life a little bit more fulfilling and meaningful and more balanced? Thanks for joining, and we will see you all
Tomorrow sounds good.